Hello, I'm Z.R.C. Films. This is a read aloud of my new story from the Shadow Files. Now like, subscribe, lock your doors, turn your lights off and listen.
One day a group of friends decided to go camping in the woods for a weekend getaway. Among them was a Native American friend who was familiar with the area and its legends. As they set up their tents and started a campfire, the Native American friend shared stories about the Wendigo, a terrifying creature known to inhabit the woods. The others listened with fascination, but also with a sense of unease. As the night fell, they noticed strange shadows lurking around their campsite. They appeared to be humanoid in shape, but with elongated limbs and glowing eyes. The group became increasingly frightened as the shadows seemed to grow in number and draw closer to their camp. The Native American friend immediately recognized that these were not Wendigos, but instead shadow people, a different kind of supernatural entity. He tried to explain this to his friends, but they were too scared to listen. The shadows continued to close in, and the group panicked. They hastily packed up their belongings and fled the campsite, running blindly through the woods in terror. As they emerged from the woods, they realized that they had made a terrible mistake. The shadow people had not been trying to harm them, but were merely curious about their presence. They had mistaken the group's fear for aggression, and had followed them out of the woods. The friends were left shaken and disturbed by the experience, realizing that their ignorance and fear had led them to misinterpret the shadow people as something much more sinister. They vowed to learn more about the legends and lore of the woods, before venturing out again, and to respect the power of the supernatural entities that inhabit the wilderness. After the terrifying encounter with the shadow people, the Native American friend felt compelled to learn more about them. He consulted with elders from his tribe and they provided him with information about these entities. According to the elders, the shadow people were not part of traditional Native American mythology, but rather a newer phenomenon that had emerged in the late 1990s. They explained that the shadow people were believed to have been released into the world by a cult that had been dabbling in dark magic and demon summoning. The cult had performed a ritual to summon a powerful demon, but instead of summoning the demon, they had unwittingly released the shadow people from their prison. The shadow people were believed to be the spirits of those who had been trapped in the demon's realm and had been transformed into shadowy figures. The Native American friend was disturbed by this information and realized that the group's encounter with the shadow people had been much more than a simple case of mistaken identity. He knew that they had been lucky to escape unharmed and decided to warn his friends about the dangers of encountering these entities in the future. He shared his findings with the group and they were shocked to learn the true nature of the shadow people. They realized that their ignorance and fear had put them in harm's way and vowed to educate themselves about the supernatural entities that inhabited the world around them. From that day on, the group approached their camping trips with a newfound respect for the power of the supernatural, and were careful to avoid areas where the shadow people were known to dwell. They learned that knowledge and respect were the keys to staying safe in the wild, and that the consequences of ignoring these principles could be deadly. Despite their fear, the group of friends felt a sense of guilt for their previous encounter with the shadow people. They decided to return to the forest to apologize and try to make things right. As they entered the forest, they noticed that the shadows seemed to be following them again. However, they reassured themselves that they were there to make amends and tried to remain calm. One by one, the friends started to disappear. The shadows seemed to be picking them off one by one, and the remaining members of the group were unable to do anything to stop it. Eventually, only the Native American friend was left. He realized that the shadows were not interested in him, but were instead seeking revenge on the others for their previous encounter. He ran for his life, knowing that he was the only one left standing. As he emerged from the forest, he realized that he had been lucky to escape with his life. He knew that he was the only one who had survived the encounter with the shadow people, and that he would never forget the lessons that he had learned. The Native American friend realized that the supernatural world was not something to be taken lightly, and that ignorance and fear could have deadly consequences. He vowed to use his knowledge to educate and protect others from the dangers of the supernatural, and to never forget the friends who had lost their lives in the forest that day. As the Native American friend ran for his life, he eventually reached his car and was horrified to find the bodies of his friends being devoured by the shadow people. He realized that he had been wrong about the creatures, and that they were, in fact, much more dangerous than he had previously believed. As the shadow people noticed him, they began to approach him, but suddenly a group of heavily armed men in black outfits arrived on the scene. The men identified themselves as government agents tasked with protecting the public from supernatural threats. The agents opened fire on the shadow people, using high-powered weapons to scare them off. They then turned their attention to the Native American friend, accusing him of trespassing on restricted land and interfering with their operations. Despite his protests, the agents were ruthless in their treatment of him. They violently arrested him, accusing him of endangering the public and violating national security laws. As he was dragged away, the Native American friend realized that he had been caught up in a world that was much bigger than he had ever imagined. He knew that he would never forget the horrors that he had witnessed in the forest, and that he would do everything in his power to ensure that others did not suffer the same fate as his friends. However, he also knew that he was now a prisoner of the government, and that his fate was uncertain. As he was taken away, he wondered what the future held for him, and for the supernatural creatures that lurked in the shadows of.
Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you liked this story, please visit my website to find others just like this. Comment your theories and what you would like to see happen next.